You're listening to Australia's national youth radio station, Triple J. For more info, go to triplej.net.au.
Thanks to the intervention of the ABC Board and the generous support of the Macquarie Bank, Triple J reluctantly presents the following 2 hours of unbiased, fair and balanced coverage of the week's topical issues. Would you please be upstanding for the national anthem? And your hosts, Stirling Addison LLB and guest, as we present Restoring the Balance.
Good evening and welcome to the show, and of course our thoughts go out to Richard Kingsmill, who, as we know, was not on tonight. He's not suffering from some grave illness. He is not exhausted from too much work. He is simply, as he confided to me in a phone call earlier, simply too distraught at the breakup of Kate Middleton and Prince William to come in today. He is, of course, a proud supporter of the monarchy, a proud supporter of the royal family, and like myself, a heraldry enthusiast. So, Richard, we wish that you get well soon. As I said, he is not ill, he is simply crestfallen, as many of us are, and we will be talking about that on tonight's program. We're also speaking with ethicist and lawyer Margaret Somerville. John Laws, we will peer behind the legend. We will also be speaking to the founder of the conservative online encyclopedia, Andy Schlafly, and I will be joined, of course, by Family First representative Spencer Penrose. There is much conservative commentary to get through in the next 2 hours on this, Restoring the Balance, on Triple J. One expatriate we, of course, don't endorse on this show, Germaine Greer. We will be talking about her a little bit later. Speaking of the United Kingdom, Spencer, the news out of there today, the very sad news indeed, the breakup of the relationship between the heir to the throne. Well, that, of course, is debatable. If it did jump a generation, he would be the heir to the throne. Mm-hmm. Prince William and his, steady girlfriend, I guess you'd call her, Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton, the spawn of a family from coal mining roots, I understand.
Yes, you can understand the trepidation that the Queen would have, obviously, having that blight on your family tree.
It's not a pretty look.
No.
I remember when I heard today devastating news. I was rehearsing with my Christian rock band, Spencer Penrose and the 7 Day 7. And we were up to our bottom lip in a few songs. We were nutting out. And in fact, we downed tools immediately, rushed to our loved ones and consoled them, but then got back together and wrote a song inspired by the Smiths, William She Was Really Nothing, and that will be premiered very soon at the Paradise Community Church.
Yes,
I'm proud to say.
I look forward to that. It was, of course, shocking news. I heard from the boarding master at Shaw Grammar, who I speak with weekly. We were speaking of various things, the effect the drought is having in the boarding house there, the effect that the 15-year-old boys in Year 10 are no longer having wet dreams.
Is that right? Dry dreams? Is that what
This is the drought. This is the effect it's having.
Yes.
No unfulfilled longing for a bassoon tutor. Indeed. That sort of thing. And he mentioned, apropos of almost nothing, that Kate and William had split.
Yes.
And it was indeed shocking news.
Devastating news. And obviously a lot of merchandise now, because I believe that Woolworths were actually readying themselves for engagement merchandise, marriage merchandise, in much the same way that they did with Diane and Charles.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what kind of merchandise they'll come up with now for the breakup. I believe even that Kate Middleton did borrow some money, as can be the awkward situation when you break up with a partner. Yes. How to get that money back from a royal, who knows?
Well, I should think that she would do the right thing and pay that money back.
Yes.
Without delay. And I hope that it doesn't get messy, that it doesn't become a tabloid slanging match. I think, and I would like to endorse William's decision to embrace his career in the military rather than meet and marry somebody who is clearly below his station.
Yes.
And this, of course, is the salient lesson coming out of this. Any relationship is doomed to failure if you have chosen unwisely to court and fall in love with somebody who is well out of your own socio-economic group.
It's a good lesson to be learnt.
Yes.
I think he should keep it in the family. next time.
There is a tradition of that.
That would be the best policy. Keep the blood blue, as they say.
Yes.
I mean,
he's a red-blooded, blue-blooded male, if you will.
Indeed he is. I mean,
yes.
I could suggest many a singles night at the church, young ladies of God. Melanie Howard is no longer available.
No.
But she would be perfect, I think.
She would be.
But she currently is...
she's married.
Providing...
She's married to Rowan McDonald, and we are very happy for them. Well, they're expecting a child, so yes.
I know that you're a little...
Melanie is, of course, married. And yes,
really
but that is one question we're hoping to ask. One of two. 1300 055536 is the talkback number. It's a two-headed question. Where were you when you heard the news?
Yes.
And who do you think should replace Kate? Who would make a suitable wife to or future queen, if you will?
Will this be a generation defined by this event, do you think? I mean, would you expect Walter Cronkite with the glasses, lowering the glasses, reading off the teletext, the news with his sleeves rolled up? Would you expect an image like that?
An epoch-defining breakup.
Yes.
It has that... It has that potential, and we'll find out shortly if you call on 1300 055536 if you share our feeling as to the enormity of this particular occasion. Where were you when you heard of the breakup of Kate Middleton and Prince William, and who should replace her?
Yes. This
is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. Prince William and Kate Middleton, as we announced earlier, they have split up. The news was sufficiently shocking to cause Richard Kingsmill to miss his entire show.
That's why.
His entire show. He did not do the show this evening. Such was his upset.
At first I thought he was up all night watching 20 Years of Rage, Part 2, and just adding to his Rick Rubin blog.
Yes.
And listening to Creedence Clearwater. I know he's a fan.
Yes.
But clearly...
Kingsmill eyes light up if you mention one band in particular. Matchbox 20.
Aha.
He is... I have yet to meet an authority as in command of his subject as Kingsmill on the subject of that fine band.
Long day.
We have common... at last, we have something we can talk about, apart from heraldry, which, of course, he loves too, which brings us back to Prince William and the split.
Here we go.
With Kate Middleton clearly beneath his station. We think on this show that he has done the right thing. He needs somebody of noble birth.
I think it's a growing... It's a time of growth. Yes. Certainly for Prince William, and sad, and we hope that he has shoulders to cry on.
Yes.
And if not, of course, we'll provide that service gladly.
But we are asking, it's a two-pronged question this evening. Where were you when you heard? And Spencer?
And who would be the ideal replacement for Kate Middleton, who would eventually take the throne, I believe, of Queen of England.
And Queen of Australia.
And Queen, of course, our Queen.
Yes, the Queen, of course, being our head of state.
Who we're very lucky to wave to when she comes to Australia.
Yes, and I have found the one picture of the Queen. There is one on this level of the ABC in the building.
Is that right?
There is one. I will show it to you after the show.
Okay.
Gary from Wollongong. Gary, the obvious question is, where were you when you heard the news?
I was in the laundry shaving my cat.
Shaving your cat?
Yeah, I've got a long-haired Persian cat and the hair gets everywhere.
Persian, yes?
Yeah, so I was in there shaving that off.
It is ethnically Persian and not Arab. That is a common mistake.
No, yes. I was shaving a pussy when I heard it.
Yes, yes. Yeah. With what sort of razor?
No, with clippers.
Clippers?
No machine, mate.
Well, that's...
Get with the times.
Yes. How often do you shave?
Probably once every couple of months.
Yes, especially in summer.
The vacuum cleaner up there.
Yes, yes. Here's to you for looking after a purebred cat.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yes. Now, the second part of the question, Gary. Who should replace her?
Paris Hilton.
Paris Hilton.
Interesting choice.
I reckon what they could do is they could release a video of the honeymoon.
Yes.
Yeah. And make a TV series.
Yes.
And, where they travel across the country in a bus and stay with rednecks.
Oh, yes. So sort of a new version of The Simple Life.
Yeah. They could do that. I think she'd really ground him,
Yes.
Bring him back to earth.
Who is Paris Hilton?
Who is?
Yes.
What, haven't you seen the movie?
No. She's a movie star then.
What planet have you been on?
She's kind of just to explain to you, Sterling, she's a low-rent Princess Diana.
Well, he shouldn't marry her then.
Yeah.
No, Gary, that's quite a silly suggestion, so we'll dismiss that out of hand. But thank you for your call, and we'll let you go back to shaving whatever it is that you're shaving. Mel from Noble Park, Paris Hilton. Mel from Noble Park.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, Mel. Obviously a conservative listener. You were knocked sideways, as we all were, by the news. Kate and William have split. Where were you when you heard?
I was smoking a bong.
Okay. Well, this is kind of typical of many of the calls. In fact, Mel is representative. She's just one. We had to reject the other 19 calls that came through, people saying exactly the same thing.
Well, you've clearly, in order to operate a phone, you must have been smoking this taxpayer-funded bong several hours ago. You've clearly cleaned up enough to operate a phone and call us now.
Of course.
What do you do for a living, Mel?
I'm a mother of two. I don't know if I should say that.
You're a mother?
Yes.
You're a drug-taking mother. Are you a single mother?
Oh, yes.
As the French would say, quelle surprise.
I don't know if you should say that. I don't know if she can say that.
Yes.
I mean, with all the illicit substances going through your body.
I couldn't get my tongue around it.
And how are you dealing with the water restrictions? I imagine there's some sort of...
Slightly pasty.
Yeah.
Yes. Mel, as a drug-taking single mother, I'm keen for your wisdom. Who should replace Kate Middleton then?
Myself, of course.
Yourself. You'd make a fetching addition
I would.
to
I think
the
I'd
Windsor
have
family. Yes, I can't wait to see your coat of arms.
I'd go around kissing everybody's ass really well.
Yes, provided they had a bong pipe coming out of it.
That's right.
Yes. Thank you, Mel from Noble Park. Nothing noble about that call, Spencer.
Absolutely, and it's a hell of a baby bonus. I mean, if you marry Prince William and have one of his babies.
Can I take a stab as to where Mel's baby bonus went? $4,000. There would have been a Ganja man very happy at the birth of that particular child in Noble Park.
Yes.
Neil from Brisbane.
Spencer, how are you?
Neil, I'm very well. A body blow today. Kate.
I certainly was.
Kate and William are no longer together. Where were you when you heard?
I was watching replays of Parliament Question Time.
Excellent. Which session?
It was a couple of months ago, actually.
It was the upper or lower house?
It was the lower house. I was watching Rub the Dud get taken to the cleaners by Alexander Downer.
Excellent. On what issue? Was it the Hicks issue?
No, it was on uranium mining.
On uranium. You would think people in the AOP would like uranium. It is, after all, organic.
Yes. It's clean, it's green.
Yes, it comes from the earth.
Yes, it certainly does.
Yes.
And I think we should be mining more of it.
I mean, couldn't agree more.
It's not going to affect Kyoto or anything that we don't really concern ourselves with anyway, is it?
Well, if we were to sign the piece of fantasy that is the Kyoto Treaty, burning uranium, getting it to heat water and to power generators would be a worthwhile contribution to greenhouse emission reductions. I
mean, solar power, it's yet to be proven.
That's right. Well, exactly. If God created it, how can it be wrong? That, of course, is the question.
Neil, who would you like to see replace Kate Middleton on the arm of Prince William?
Spencer is a loyal subject of the Empire. I was going to suggest that you do the honourable thing.
Yes.
And Penny replace Kate Middleton.
Ah, okay.
A touch of class, finally, for the royal family.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, we have parallel stormy relationships, I guess you could say. But I must say, Neil, I certainly identify with Prince William. And this quote certainly rang true for me. He said he would not be pressured into marriage by a media scrum hungry for an announcement. And after 6 years of engagement, Penny is quite the same. Penny is quite the same. That is not to say she is not the woman I will, of course, marry.
Yeah, and build a life with.
But she is the woman I will marry.
In fact, was it Penny in the photo with Prince William on that night out when he was accidentally caught snapping? I mean, he didn't mean to.
Yes.
When he was accidentally snapped, grabbing at the woman's what have you.
She was evasive when I asked, but I have to take her assurances that she was indeed where she said she was, which is at the local rugby union change rooms.
Yes.
She is a cheerleader there, and she's always there as a proud supporter for the post-match rub-down. She's the only woman allowed in the room, and thanks to her, many players have thanked Penny for her role in them winning something called the Furry Cup, which I think is some intercollegiate rugby competition. But there you go, Neil. Let's That's the news on that.
She's a fine woman.
She is.
That is nothing if not an illustration of just how wonderful she is.
She is an enthusiastic supporter of amateur-grade sport. And tell me why I wouldn't marry a woman like that. 1300 0555 36 if you'd like to tell us where you were when you heard the news that Prince William split from Kate Middleton. And also you may suggest if you want a replacement.
Yeah.
Spencer, you are with Spencer and Stirling. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. Shortly we are speaking to a very, very brave man.
Yes.
He is the founder of the online conservative encyclopedia, the Conservapedia. He is Andy Schlafly. We will be speaking to him in a minute or two, Spencer, but we are asking in the wake of some shattering news. Prince William has separated from his girlfriend, Kate Middleton, who was at one stage, we feared, tipped to marry him. And of course, our concerns were based in the fact that she is of a much lower social standing.
From a coal mining family.
Yes.
And her family...
Still, no doubt, with soot under her fingernails.
Her parents are only millionaires.
Yes.
I mean, they own some sort of company selling children's party paraphernalia.
Yes.
A mail order company.
Mail order.
Yeah.
So she was a mail order bride.
She was.
Yes.
Scarlet Woman.
Yes.
As well.
How about that? Well, and we're asking two questions. Where were you when you heard the news? And secondly, who would make a suitable replacement for Kate Middleton now that she has been rightly cast aside?
Yes.
Who would make an appropriate future wife of Prince William and, we hope, future Queen of Australia?
It's a good question.
The phone number 1300 0555 36, the SMS number 1975 7555. We have Rob from Kingaroy. Rob from Kingaroy.
No, Kilroy.
I was excited there because Kingaroy is well, it's quite a place. Where are you from exactly?
Kilroy.
And where do we find that?
It's down in Shire. Sutherland Shire.
In the Shire.
Right, yes.
Yeah, mate.
Now, you've heard the two questions. Rob, where were you when you heard the news?
I don't exactly remember where I was.
Yes. Say there's... What do you remember, say, of the last hour and a half, Rob?
I've been sitting at home, just listening to the radio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having a smoke and...
Having a smoke. Yes. What sort of smoke?
Pot.
Yes.
Yeah.
We, Spencer, have cornered the market in conservative dopeheads.
That's our demographic. Well, it seems to be this evening anyway.
Yes.
That's the one that we're going for. And,
yes.
And so this should be good, Rob. I'm waiting with bated breath to hear your suggestion as to who should replace Kate Middleton.
Kath and Kim.
Kath and Kim.
Kath and Kim. Are they ABC children's characters or...
No, they're like funny chicks.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
It's a wonderful look at suburban life in Australia.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not familiar with it myself, but I imagine that it is very satirical.
Yes, well, I'm sure it is. Rob, we'll let you go and let the THC...
Also, if you said like uranium's good and that, and God made it, and it's good to use it and that, then why should you be upset about that lady smoking pot?
Yes.
And me smoking pot, for example, as well, because, God made that as well, or,
Yes.
Just say he did.
Well, let's extend the logic, Rob, and let's power some power stations with pot. There's an idea for you.
Why not?
Yes. Thank you for your call, Rob. We'll let you get back to the more important things. Such as THC coursing through your system, and God bless all who sail upon you.
We received another SMS on this very topic. I'm not actually sure who it's from, but someone suggested that Prince William should forget women entirely. They're evil creatures just trying to steal our precious bodily fluids.
Yes, a very Old Testament look at that.
Indeed, and possibly some trying to take more bodily fluids than others.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to suggest Kate Middleton, but I will.
Yes.
Kate Middleton, now, of course, free to sample as many fluids as she can.
And she will. Somebody of her social background, promiscuity is just a way of life.
It's a heartbeat away.
It's why go a handshake when you could go a quick knee trembler with a Catholic behind the pub? That's de rigueur for that sort. This is Restoring the Balance.
Howdy's Anne here, letting you know about a huge week on Mornings. We'll wind back with Architecture in Helsinki on the Reel and hear their new single for the very first time. Lou Rhodes covers Elliott Smith live in studio. Ruby, 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 Ruby. And the Kaiser Chiefs are taking 5 as well. It all kicks off Monday morning, so catch it from 9 a.m. here on Triple J.
Restoring the balance. Supporters of the US alliance.
Undiluted left-wing bias has not restricted itself, Spencer, to traditional electronic and print media.
Oh, you're talking about here the internet?
Yes.
The World Wide Web?
Yes.
Pretty much. The Triple J listeners wouldn't know too much about the World Wide Web except when they're going online to look up saucy images, dare I say movies, download, and still music,
yes,
obviously.
Still music. We will be talking about that a little bit later. The rapacious claws of the left have got themselves stuck into the internet, namely Wikipedia.
Oh, or as I call it, Wikipedia.
Or I would simply call it Wickedpedia. Such are the falsehoods purported to be truth available online at that particular site. A brave man has stood up and said enough is enough. Andy Schlafly has said, no, we need a Conservapedia. It is an online conservative encyclopedia. This man, Spencer, graduated magna cum laude from Harvard Law School, where he was on the Harvard Law Review. He also has an engineering degree from Princeton University. Would that all our guests on this show were as well qualified and as politically and ideologically brave. We speak to him now. He is on the phone from the United States. Andy, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Stirling, for having me on.
Andy, we must ask you firstly, what happened when you, as somebody holding conservative opinions, went to use Wikipedia?
What happens is the changes you put in are fairly quickly revised, distorted, deleted, erased.
Yes.
They don't last on Wikipedia.
Now, why would that be? Are they hostile to your ideological bent?
Yes, they are. The Wikipedia editors are overwhelmingly liberal, much more liberal than the American public.
Yes.
They, sort of like a mob, they'll swarm any conservative changes you put into articles. In some cases, the changes may be gone within 60 seconds.
Is that so? Because they pride themselves on being supposedly democratic and a forum for freedom of speech until that speech disagrees with their own.
Yeah, that's right. They have all the democracy of a mob.
Yes.
That's determined to lynch anyone who's conservative.
So basically, Wikipedia is just it's like an online Michael Moore movie. It's just riddled with left hatred and untruth.
That's a pretty good summary of the status.
Now, can you give us an example of something you did put online that was disappeared?
Well, any criticism of the theory of evolution, for example, will not be allowed on Wikipedia. If you go to their entries on anything related to that, you won't find even a whisper of criticism of evolution. If you type in anything that's sort of biblical, like the Great Flood, an entry on the Great Flood will get redirected to something that they call mythology.
Yes. Well, there is a great saying, truth emerges from debate. It appears no debate is actually occurring. Now, I would ask this question, why are the left so keen to marry homosexuals but so keen to divorce themselves from the truth?
Boy, that's an excellent analysis there. I wish I had thought of that, how to summarize it. That's so true. The truth they do not like, but anything that's distorted or anything that's unproductive or contrary, they do like.
And in general, the tone on Wikipedia, is it pro-American or anti-American? What have you divined?
Oh, very anti-American on Wikipedia. Very much so. And you can see that in some of the entries about foreign policy.
And I've been looking at Conservapedia. It is, well, besides the Bible, it is my Bible, my online Bible. And it's interesting that you can look up words. It's great because it gives you the definition of words that the left don't understand.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Yes.
Honesty.
Yes.
Christianity is even in there. And words. It's a great thing for the lefts to look at and understand exactly what it is. Wouldn't you say, Andy?
Well, you're lucky if you find Christianity mentioned much at all in Wikipedia. I went in and looked at their entry on the Renaissance, which was, of course, a great rebirth and a flowering in the arts that was inspired by Christianity. They don't give Christianity any credit for it.
Apparently it was, a secularist movement that emerged out of the great secularist tradition in Europe?
Well, that's what they claim, when in fact that's not the case at all. Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci were all great Christians inspired by Christianity to do great things.
And have you had any reaction from Jimmy Wales and the Wikipedia people on your page?
They've been very hostile.
Yes.
Sometimes they'll give us a backhanded compliment and say, well, we welcome the use of the wiki, or we welcome reuse of our material. We're not reusing their material at all. We're creating all new material.
Now, Andy, where can we go online to find the one single reliable repository of factually correct knowledge on the internet?
Conservapedia.com. CONSERVAPEDIA.com.
Well, if the Triple J audience could stop ordering their online drug paraphernalia or drooling over the latest Noam Chomsky hysterical revisionist text, maybe they should go there and get a pill of the truth.
I hope it doesn't shock them too much. I think they need to be sitting down and they'll hear things they've never heard before.
Oh, believe me, Andy, they'll be sitting down. We thank you for joining us. There is some interference on the line, no doubt, that's coming from the left, the left liberals who don't want the truth getting out. It seems to be a running theme on this particular station. Andy, we thank you for bringing us the truth.
Well, thank you very much. God bless. Take care.
That was Andy Schlafly, founder of Conservapedia. Look at it online. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. We are talking this evening about an event that none of us saw coming, Spencer.
Yes.
The breakup
of Prince William and Kate Middleton. We are wearing the black armbands in solidarity with the Prince.
Yes.
Very sad news. Kate Middleton probably moving on. I mean, how can you go bigger and better than Prince William? Really?
Well, it's all. I'd hate to be the revenge route, using the crudest possible parlance. Whoever she uses to get back at the Prince will be a pale imitation.
Indeed, and how intimidating for the young man involved in that.
Yes.
Trying to follow up to Prince William. We've received some SMSs on this. Australia is on fire with this news.
I'll just read out the number for SMSs, Spencer. 1975 7555. If you'd like to weigh into the talk back on this particular topic, where were you when you heard who should replace her? 1300 0555 36.
This is SMS. Says Prince William should go back with her. She was hot. A good new image for the Royals. Well, people said the same thing about Fergie, did they not?
Yes, yes.
And where is she now?
Well,
Weight Watchers commercials.
Yes.
Last time I checked.
I must admit, looking back at pictures of her through my at times troubled adolescence.
Yes.
She did appear in magazines under the covers.
Is that so?
Yes.
You devoted a few.
Royal Weekly was a magazine that my parents subscribed to, and I would often secrete copies, as any young 15-year-old boy would, under the mattress.
For one of your dry...
just for research.
Yes.
Yes.
Another SMS. Funny Neil mentioned Penny. It reminded me of where I was when I heard the bad news.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. My replacement idea is, of course, Bindi Irwin. Okay, so obviously some sort of backstory there on Penny.
Well, I can only deduce from that would be her personal trainer.
Yes.
With whom she spent the afternoon, explained to me that she had a particularly heavy session booked with him. I, of course, have insisted that she lose weight to fit into the wedding dress I have bought for her.
That's only right.
Yes. The wedding dress, of course, worn by Melanie Howard on her wedding day. I would like to speak now about John Laws. John Laws, I mentioned him last week. Spencer, we spoke of an alleged decline in his ratings. This, of course, is claptrap being generated by the pot-smoking Bolsheviks at the Sydney Morning Herald.
I don't believe the fall in the ratings. This is a man for whose love for the people of Australia is as deep as his voice.
Yes, well said.
Truth always sounds better when it's coming through a golden microphone.
Yes.
That's something that Penny told me once.
Yes, well said. Well, we have made it a priority on this particular program to circle the wagons, in effect, and lend some support to a fellow conservative broadcaster. God knows there are so few out there.
That's right.
That we're all I won't say intimate with each other, but we all certainly watch each other's backs, as the term would go.
We are one, but we are many.
Yes. So I urge listeners to get to know John Laws the man. If you are privileged enough to live in an area where you can access his show, do so immediately.
Yes.
We need to prove that his conservative message, the seeds of his conservative message are hitting a fertile ground.
It's time to support the underdog, people.
The underdog, well said.
Yes.
He is an underdog. To peer behind the man, behind the legend, we on this program have voiced excerpts from his compelling biography.
It's an amazing read.
It is an amazing read. And we have used the resources here at the ABC. There was nearly industrial action about this.
Oh, is that why Richard Kingsmill was off?
Well, that and of course, the grief over Kate and William.
Prince William.
But we bring you a peek behind the great man, John Laws, with these little segments. Please enjoy and remember, the Triple J audience, I know, will rally to this cause and support John Laws. Forget the claptrap you hear on Triple J in the morning. Support John Laws. Listen to this.
Restoring the Balance presents, for your edification, a reading from John Law's biography, Laws, A Life of Power. Part 2, Sharing the Road.
Now, there are plenty of people in the world who annoy you, and usually they come from one race when it comes to driving motor cars. Most Asian people have some difficulty. I mean, why has there not been a world champion Asian driver? Understand, this is not racist.
Restoring the Balance on Triple J. Your taxes barely at work.
Loyal subjects. This, of course, when we talk about the Empire, it seems terribly dated, Spencer. Here are the bald facts. The Queen is our head of state.
That's true.
We live under a parliamentary system copied from Great Britain. Mm-hmm. Our institutions are modelled upon those of England, obviously, and the United Kingdom and Great Britain.
Successful they are.
We are a successful offspring.
Yes.
Of what used to be called the mother country. Therefore, we follow with keen interest the love lives of the royal family. Kate Middleton, some of us, many of us listening to Triple J may have thought would have been eventually our Queen, the Queen.
Yeah.
Thus, it comes as a great shock that Kate and William are no longer. We ask, where were you when you heard, and who should follow her?
Yes, it's very important, this choice, because any wrong choice, and we could have someone who we don't like being the Queen of Australia.
Yes.
And so some of the suggestions that have been drifting through, Paris Hilton, I don't know about that. Bindi Urban. I mean, is she not really already, certainly the Princess of Australia?
Yes.
She's been taken into the hearts and minds of the people.
For those of you who don't know, Bindi, her father was well known on television.
Yeah.
Yes. He apparently is no longer with us.
Is that right?
Yes.
I haven't heard the latest.
Yes. Damien from Melbourne. Damien, where were you when you heard the news?
Lying in bed, and then I thought I'll just give him another chance before he goes back to war to come back here and find himself a nice Aussie girl like he did last time he was here.
Yes, he is, of course, defending freedom in Iraq, as his brother is about to do. His brother is about to go to Iraq, into a war zone.
Not much to be done there, though. I mean, pretty much. I mean, we're in the tail end of things.
Yes. The not occupation, the liberation.
Yes.
Is certainly, we will be talking about that a little bit later. The forces of good are definitely triumphing on a daily basis. And as you point out, there will be stuff all for him to do. But following a proud royal tradition, Prince Andrew, of course, flew choppers for the magnificent British force that liberated the Falkland Islands from Argentine tyranny in the early 80s.
Yes, and we all remember that well.
Yes. So, Damien, who do you think would replace Kate?
Oh, if we can't find a nice Aussie girl to do it, I was thinking you could take one for the team and become a king and queen.
King and queen?
Yeah, you could do that.
Yes. Yeah, that would require complex surgery.
No, I didn't think the surgery would be required. You'd be a king and a queen, and he'd be king and a queen as well.
Well, it's a small price to pay,
yes.
Stirling. I mean, I'm sure you'd be committed. You'd certainly, I mean, you'd be more devoted, certainly, than Kate Middleton.
And I am certainly, Damien, I will assure you, of a much higher social standing than that trollop Kate Middleton.
Exactly, that's why I'm suggesting it.
Yes.
You probably are on the same level.
Yes, yes. Imagine how much more informative you'll be, Damien, when the contents of your bong kick in. Call us back when they do. Thank you.
No, they kicked in a fair few hours ago. Don't you worry about that.
Thank you for calling. Millsy from Port Hedland.
How you going, mate?
Very well. Millsy.
Yeah.
You were where when you heard the news of Prince William and Kate Middleton?
Oh, mate, front lounge room.
Front lounge room, yes. What were you doing? Were you watching television? Were you building a model of a Spitfire?
No, we were actually gearing up to go spearfishing.
Spearfishing?
I see. In the ocean.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, we were standing on TV and my mate started laughing. I walked around the corner and said, "What are you laughing at?" And he goes, "The stupid pommy prick lost his missus."
Well, that's hardly an appropriate response.
Oh, he's one of them Scottish people.
Right. Oh, I see.
Well,
so he's a bit...
Yeah, troublemaking is in his DNA.
Yes.
Not really. He just brings other people in to help him start the trouble.
Well, keep in mind there is obviously spirited rebellion alive within the hearts of every Scotsman.
That's true.
As opposed to drunken sedition, which is in the heart of every Irishman. There is a difference. There is a difference. Millsy, who should replace Kate Middleton?
Oh, no, I was speaking to your mate earlier, I reckon Kate Moss, but then that would just be another drug scandal in the royal family, wouldn't it?
We don't need another Princess Di.
Yes, yes.
Hey, come on, Princess Di was all right.
She was a commoner. She was hardly discreet. Would you say, Millsy?
I didn't really pry into the lives of the royal family. I'm not really stay in my corner and everyone stays in theirs.
Yes.
But Kate Moss is your suggestion?
Kate Moss, she's just a bloody idiot.
Yes, well, continuing a theme of drug-taking mothers on the show.
But, I heard that earlier.
Yes.
He's getting into it a fraction.
Yes.
But, I remember listening to Triple J years ago before I even moved to Port Hedland. I remember one person was actually egging on a caller to have one on the radio.
Well, that
was quite a few years ago.
Yes, J, the J in the Triple J stands for joint.
That's right.
Yes, well, and well said. Thank you, Millsy. The public education kicking in well there.
Yeah, Triple J. It's a station that makes the left and the right ear happy, but not the middle ear, the one that takes care of the balance, and that's what we do every single Sunday night.
Beautifully said. Mick from Brisbane.
How are you?
Mick, we're doing well. Where were you when you heard the news, and can you put it as eloquently as Millsy?
Look, we were deep sea fishing, right?
Well, a lot of fishing going on.
Off Fraser Island, we had a couple of strippers on the boat.
Strippers, yes.
Right. Yeah,
it sounds like Graham Richardson was there, and you were raising money for the Australian Labor Party.
Well, no, it wasn't exactly like that, right? But there's quite a few rich people there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we were just gobsmacked.
Yes.
We were shocked.
Yes.
We heard it over bloody 2A radio, and that was the end of it.
Was it caused to turn the boat around and head back to shore?
Basically, yes.
Yes.
Yes, that was the end of us.
Yes.
Yep. No more fishing at all.
There is part two of the question, Mick. Who should replace Kate Middleton?
Well, we sat around and we talked about it, and we thought about, Fergie.
Fergie. She has been isolated from the royal inner circle. She is offside with the Queen.
But she's a big woman.
She is not to be rehabilitated.
But she's large, and Prince William is a sort of slender sort of fella.
Yes.
So I thought if the two of them got together...
A sort of Jack Spratt scenario.
That's right.
Jack Spratt could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean.
Well, I think that's what was going on Mick's boat, but it's interesting when you look at the two Fergies. You've got Fergie from the royal family, you've got Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas as well. Who's the more embarrassing?
The royal family is totally inbred, so they might as well keep doing it.
They are not inbred, they've simply carefully selected.
No, but I'm German parentage myself, right? And let's face it, the whole British family is from German
stock.
Well, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
Yes.
They do well together, the two of them.
Yes. There was a great period of German and English cooperation. Most of us know that as World War II. So
That's
thanks,
right.
Mick.
Well, Adolf Hitler had the right idea when he was he wanted to King Edward wanted to team with him.
Mick, I'd love to talk history with you all night. I'm not brain damaged enough, though. Max from Bendigo, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Sterling. How are you, mate?
Max, we're doing very well. Where were you when you heard, and who should replace Cape Middleton?
I was just visiting a friend in Bendigo, a rural community in Victoria.
Yes.
Just staying in touch with our rural folk.
Yes.
And
stoic rural folk.
Yes, just trying to calm them down a little bit and stop their constant torment and worry about the hard life and all that.
You would, of course...
I couldn't help but instantly think Bindi Irwin sprung to mind, but maybe she's had a mention already.
Yes, she has.
No, she has. But what's your reasoning for that, Max?
Well, I thought that she has a bit of time up her sleeve, so she could be, tuned to fit the role, to the cocktail dresses, the dinner outfits and stuff, and lose the car keys and all that.
Yes.
But hindsight is 2020, and I'm now thinking that maybe she's a little too in touch with our, shall we say, common Australian.
Yes, yes. I must commend the Triple J audience for, in an hour of broadcasting, Spencer, openly boasting of drug use and pushing for marriage a 9-year-old girl.
Yes, it seems...
and might I give a big shout-out to our pot-smoking friends and or the ones that are recording this program anyway, they might remember. Not all of us are partakers of the THC. So.
Yes, right. And I don't know who would be recording this program. It is clearly a violation of copyright.
Well, then there's no
Which begs the question, why would you do it? There isn't. Thank you, Max from Bendigo. If any other Triple J listeners would like to ring up and advocate underage marriage...
It seems like a strange way to go.
Yes.
Surely, if you are suggesting Bindi, maybe a few years down the track...
Yes.
Would be the way.
Surely you have a 7-year-old sister you'd like to pimp. Please give us a call. 1300 055536. Disgusting. Restoring the Balance, Triple J. I originally heard Missy Higgins' earlier work on another commercial station, be it an Austereo station or a Nova station or one of those.
Yes.
Again, as it always is, it is left to commercial stations such as those to break Australian talent. Once the hard work has been done by the mainstream commercial station, Triple J comes in like a thief in the night.
They do.
And waits to see if something is popular enough to play.
The commercial radio networks of Australia are, for Triple J, the cheapest research tool ever.
Yes.
The commercial networks drive out the new music first.
Yes.
Triple J listens out to hear which ones break out of the pack, become popular with votes and what have you, and requests, 2 Up Tuesdays and whatnot and the like, and then Triple J play them.
Yes. And this is what's happened with Missy Higgins. And I don't know how many times I have to tell the world's biggest Matchbox 20 fan, Richard Kingsmill, of Shannon Knoll. He'll get there eventually.
Yeah, well, he's at home taping one of the Austereo stations now.
Violating copyright, as we mentioned earlier.
You'll find some of the fresh stuff.
Dr. Brendan Nelson, our Minister of Defence, has announced it's been a particularly eventful week in Defence. He was cruelled by timing and the release of a very critical report about the Defence Department. He unfortunately released it on Easter Thursday.
Right.
And as foul luck would have it, it was swamped by Easter stories and hardly rated a mention in any of the papers.
It's all about timing.
And Nelson would be furious about that. Nonetheless, he in a major announcement, has said that the federal government would increase the Australian Defence Force recruitment age from 51 to 56. And to talk to us about such things now is the Executive Director of the Australian Defence Association, Australia's only truly independent, actively non-partisan and community-based national public interest guardian organisation and think tank. Yes, there is some irony there, a defence think tank. We'll let you stew on that.
Right.
He is Neil James. Neil, good evening and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, Stirling.
Neil, can you tell us about raising the recruitment age for the Army? Are things that dire in the Australian Defence Force at the moment?
Look, they're certainly tight, but raising the recruitment age isn't so much an attempt to recruit 50-year-old infantrymen.
Yes.
As an attempt to fill some of the Defence Force's vacancies in tradesmen and professionals.
So we're not talking combat role?
Well, it's a combat role, but it's not an infantry combat role. I mean, we're talking about people like electricians and doctors and people who may be in their second or third career and feel like giving something back to the community.
Yes.
Or just want a bit of a change when they're in their late 40s or early 50s. You can actually serve in the Defence Force until 55, so it makes sense to up the recruiting age to the age at which you can serve to.
And do you find that this might be a great idea to throw in some experience there with the young guns, to mix them up, to everyone learn something off each other, and for that intergenerational influence within our Defence Forces?
Well, that's certainly part of it, but you've got to remember that the Defence Force is disproportionately made up of people between 18 and 30,
yes,
and particularly 18 and 25. And as an industry in Australia, it's quite out of kilter with most other industries. Common sense tells you that you basically need a Defence Force full of lots of young people, and by young, I'm basically talking of people up to say 30 and 35. But as a percentage of the population, those age cohorts are the lowest they've been since 1788.
Yes.
There's reasonably full employment, particularly for skilled and semi-skilled labour, and it's just becoming increasingly hard to fill the ranks of the Defence Force, even before you factor in that the number of people, say, between 18 and 25 who are going to uni has jumped from 25 to 40% just in the last 12 years.
Does the Defence Force have a recruitment problem amongst the sort of people who listen to this station, Neil? Unmotivated, drug-taking, bullet-dodging hippie types who are keen to abuse the freedoms, the hard-won freedoms, won on the shores of Gallipoli, on the tracks of Kokoda, in the rubber plantations of Longtan. What is it about this layabout generation that will not pull on the khaki and make a stand for freedom?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not certain that's true. I mean, they're doing fairly well for general enlistee recruitment at the moment, which basically recruit the type of people you've just described.
Yes.
It's a complex problem. I suppose you've got to look at it from the point of view that Generations X and Y aren't joiners in the first place. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's your suburban football club or a church or a trade union. There's actually a falling membership in most organisations.
They're quitters.
Quitters, yes.
Well, it's not so much they're quitters; they're just not joiners in the first place. And that appears to be changing with the follow-on generations. But these things tend to go through a sociological cycle, and there's every indication that a lot of the young people today are a bit more conservative than their boomer parents.
Yes.
Which could have an interesting effect on Defence Force recruitment a bit further down the track.
Neil, the Army has relaxed its recruitment limitations, I guess, for want of a better phrase. If you have taken drugs, you may still be allowed to join the armed forces. I can hear the audience of Triple J stirring in their beanbags at that very thought. What do you think of that personally?
Look, the Defence Association doesn't have a problem with this. I mean, in the old days, the ban on recruiting drug users was a simple one. You're not allowed to use drugs in the military. There's it's a zero tolerance policy. But if you were someone who had used it in the past, there was no way of checking that you'd given up, say.
Yes.
Now they've got random drug testing, and the irony here, of course, is the Defence Force tried to get this in the early 1990s and were forbidden, and they've now been overtaken by a whole lot of other industries like mining and aviation and emergency services and policing. So, even if you're someone who has been a user in the past or carried youthful experimentation a bit far, and you join the Defence Force, they'll know if you're still using, because they'll catch you through the random testing. Now, if the results are anything like the mining industry, the first time they did random tests, they caught about 25% of their people. The next time they did a round of tests, it was down to about 7%. By the third round of tests, they were well under 1.5% and have remained there ever since. Well, the same thing will occur in the Defence Force.
Now, Neil, I meant to ask you about the stolen rocket launches. They, of course, have been in the press recently. The nightmare scenario is that has one of them being used at the APEC Economic Leaders meeting in Sydney later this year. Would you expect the Defence Minister, Dr. Brendan Nelson, to leap bodily in front of the Prime Minister and cop around if one of them was loosed off?
Well, there's a couple of things wrong with that scenario. The first thing is it wouldn't matter if you jumped in front of a rocket launcher to go through both of you. It'd also have to be fired from close enough to do some damage, and that would obviously be reasonably difficult.
Yes.
But I don't think anyone's sort of advocating that type of activity.
This is the M72 you're talking about here, the one of the stolen M72s. Is that right, Stirling? Because we've used some of those things in some of the pyrotechnics displays at Paradise Community Church.
Excellent.
Not the M72, as a matter of fact, but the comparatively crude FIM92 Stinger, which, while it has the advantage of passive infrared homing, it does have the disadvantage of significant recoil. But I have distracted you from your question. Your witness.
Well, the problem with those type of weapons is that they locate heat sources, but they're not that good at locating hot air.
Yes.
So aiming them at the odd politician mightn't necessarily be the way to go.
Well, yes.
Wonderful. Very humorous.
Yes, but I hear a tone of cynicism that disappoints me in a man so well qualified. Neil James, I'll one last question. National service, can we ever bring it back? And has it ever been more needed than it is now?
Well, look, national service doesn't solve your problem. I mean, for example, there's roughly 250,000 young Australians turn 20 every year, and the Defence Force only needs 6,000 to 7,000 people. So what do you do with the other 243,000? There's only a certain number of rocks around a parade ground you can paint white.
Yes.
Look, the whole question of national service is a fascinating one, and it's often suggested for reasons that are generally political. But in terms of strategic need, there's not the need for it at the moment, but that's not to say that at some time in the future it mightn't become necessary.
I know the Penny, your Penny, is a big fan of the national service.
Yes, she has served the military, the 9th Battalion. I'm not sure. But
I thought it was a nickname. That's all.
Yes. Thank you very much, Neil James, for joining us, Executive Director of the Australian Defence Association. We very much appreciate your time. At ease, you are dismissed.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Restoring the balance, Triple J. We are an oasis in a sea of left liberal hogwash. We cling grimly to the palm of truth at the risk of having the odd coconut of leftist hatred fall on our head.
We wash our face in the cooling waters of conservatism.
Yes, and we emerge with refreshed complexions on everything. One of which is industrial relations. We mean to canvass this particular topic, and again, on behalf of all Triple J listeners, commend the Prime Minister on his work on work choices, on revitalising the industrial relations landscape of Australia that was hitherto moribund under red tape and centralised wage fixation and all sorts of communistic garbage introduced by 13 years of Labor economy wreckers.
It's wonderful just to have choices.
Yes.
And everyone should be happy for that.
It is about choice.
Yes.
Do I want a penalty rate? No, I don't. I may be able to cash that in, I may not. I have the choice.
That's right.
That's why it's called work choices. I was reading a paper the other day, Spencer. There was disquiet from some particular workers because they're demanding extra money for working on, of all days, Anzac Day.
Well, that's un-Australian.
Yes.
Do you think the diggers...
Yes.
Do they want more bully beef? Simpson and his donkey. Did the donkey want another sugar cube? No, he didn't. He had a job to do.
Did they call a stop work meeting, these great diggers, and say, unless we get penalties, we won't charge headlong into the lair of Johnny Turk? Was there a union meeting where some pinko delegate said, all those in favour of forging a national identity on time and a half, say aye?
No, there wasn't.
No, there was not. If the diggers did not get time and a half on Anzac Day, then nor should you for serving your overpriced cappuccino. There is a reason you work a menial job. You are not good enough to do anything else.
Well, I know that Kevin Rudd, aside from having the dawn service moved, he also wanted to be paid for his appearance, an appearance fee.
A time and a half, no doubt.
That's just what I heard.
I want to say to those people who will work on Anzac Day without penalty rates, it is about sacrifice for the good of the nation.
It's a fair point.
The diggers understood it. Yeah. So should you. And one day, the sacrifice of those working menial jobs on public holidays and those who have gladly forgone their penalties, you will be remembered. And in your honour, there will be a public holiday that you won't be able to afford to take the time off to celebrate. But nonetheless, it will be there. And we do acknowledge the sacrifice that you are making. You are foregoing maybe $100 a shift. It is a small price to pay for industrial relations flexibility, for labour market flexibility.
This is extraordinary. This is progressive, forward-thinking, Stirling.
Yes.
You have really thought this through beautifully.
Yes. Well, this, as the Prime Minister pointed out, is the engine room of the national economy at the moment, these industrial relations reforms. Sweep aside anything else that's driving along or apparently driving along the economy. It is the fine-tuning of the Workplace Act that is a direct result, or I should say that is causing the economic boom times that we currently enjoy under John Howard. Yes. Which brings us to the talkback topic at the moment, 1300 0555 36. What effect have work choices had in your workplace? What effect have they had? Of course, it makes no difference to me. I'm partnered at my family's law firm. Yes. Spencer?
Well, I mean, here at Family First, we're all about the work-life balance.
Yes.
And so these moves, I mean, we cautiously endorse some of the moves. We would like some changes to be made. We would like certainly for families to spend more time together. Yes. To go to church. Yes. To spend more time on love bombing and vision quests and what have you. Things like that. I mean, we would certainly like to see some changes made.
Well, I would say no piece of legislation passed through the upper house is in and of itself always perfect. There is, of course, room for fine-tuning. And we look at any act that taxes family trusts. And the one that did repeal that in 1997 certainly is not perfect, but went a long way to redressing a grievous injustice.
Indeed.
That being the tax on family trusts.
That's true.
And we're very glad that this government repealed that. But we want to know, in your experience, they are only a few months old, how have they impacted upon you where you work?
Yes.
1300 0555 36, or you can text us 1975 7555. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. We are, of course, talking about work choices, a radical overhaul of moribund industrial relations laws. Only one man had the power, the courage, the courageous vision to do it and implement it. That was John Howard, made possible by his Senate majority. They are a fact of life now. There have been murmurings from Workplace Relations Minister Joe Hockey that they could be tightened up soon, or possibly after the next, or I should say the impending Liberal victory that will come with this year's election. We want to know, how have they affected you? How have they made your life so much better?
Well, for starters, you've got to have a job. And
well, that rules out most of the audience.
That's right.
Yes.
But you never know. You're like in a big city, we could get some calls on this.
We have Dan from Bellangan. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Dan, what have work choices done for you?
Well, work choices at this stage, as an employer, really haven't helped me out.
So you are a small businessman?
I am
Yes. You are...
I'm 6 foot, but I'm still a small businessman.
Well said, well said. We should point out small businesses are the largest employers in Australia.
Mm-hmm. And they're booming.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go. Dan, what's been your experience?
Well, due to my lefty persuasions, I placed in the window of my pharmacy a little sign.
You've been raiding the stock, obviously.
Yeah, mate, tucking in.
Yes.
No doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, put a little sign in the window that said, look, this business supports collective bargaining. No employees are subjected to AWAs. Bell Engine Pharmacy, locally owned and operated.
Yes.
And then www.rightsatwork.com. Subsequent to
that... Should be leftiesatwork.com.
Yeah, yes. Could have been.
Yes.
Could have been.
Subsequent to that, the fairy tale continues. What happened?
Yeah, subsequent to that, in the ensuing 2 or 3 weeks, it's been about 3 or 4 months ago that I whacked the sign in there, I got a complete tax audit.
Yes.
hot on the heels, followed by an industrial relations audit.
Yes.
And just to cap it off, the icing on the cake, a bit of a Medicare audit, just to make sure that I wasn't, being Dr. Death and, giving out pills to people to knock them off or whatever.
That is an extraordinary coincidence.
Isn't it? Isn't it remarkable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
and now I'm referred to because I live in a fairly safe National Party seat.
Well, half your luck.
Yeah.
I'm often referred to, like, your punters come in and go to say, "G'day, comrade."
Comrade, yes.
Comrade, yeah, bit of the comrade stuff. And I'm actually appealing to the listeners out there as to what an appropriate response to that would be.
Vote Liberal. Vote Liberal.
You'll
find, as a chemist, it is the panacea to all that ails you.
You reckon?
Yes, put it in a bottle and prescribe it to all your patients. Vote Liberal. I will point out, Dan, the last person who actively encouraged collectivisation was somebody named Joe Stalin. 30 million people died participating in his vision of collective bargaining, which is why the government is wise to slap you down.
So, right.
Yes.
I really am in the wrong. So when they do come in and say, "G'day, comrade," I don't say, "G'day, Nasho Party, hat-wearing, sheep-shagging dudes."
Well, that would be unwise.
I'm looking sort of for a, witty response to throw back at them. But at this stage, I'm just coming up with blanks. So just vote Liberal.
Vote Liberal.
Yes.
Yeah, so look, just ignore that sign. I'm voting Liberal. You guys should too.
I have a prescription vote. I prescribe one Liberal vote in the lower house, one in the upper house. Take once every 3 years.
John Howard is the Viagra for the economy.
Yes.
He certainly is.
The Labor Party are the Stilnocks of Australia.
Yes.
They are, They're making people jump off balconies and eat the fridge out and paint doors and do all sorts of crazy shit.
How you doing with the Stilnocks there? Drugstore cowboy, Dan?
I'm actually, I am a, look, I don't take stuff off the shelf. I'll be up front with you there. I had a few beers tonight in case you're wondering why I'm slurring.
Yeah.
I've been prescribed Stilnocks and I quite like them. They give you pretty weird nightmares, or not nightmares, just crazy dreams. They're great.
Yeah. Yes. Have you ever tried the most lethal sedative known to man? It's something called Rudhypnol.
I have partaken in the Rohypnol in the past, due to chronic insomnia and a short period 3 years ago. However, that was sort of a one-off, and I woke up wondering where I was, even though I was in my own bed. I sort of thought, geez, I've sort of got about 18 hours unaccounted for there. But it wasn't Rudhypnol, it was, Rohypnol.
Yes, well, obviously, if you're in Bellangan and you need some...
Bellanger's a very alternative part of the world.
Obviously, and if you need some pink acid, see Dan the Man.
Pink acid. Stay away from the brown stuff.
That's right. Yes.
But the pink stuff's okay. The white blotter paper, of course, keeps the masses happy.
Yes. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for your call. A small businessman, but I think sensibly audited by the government.
Yeah, I think he should be audited again.
Rolling audits. An excellent idea. We have Tezza from Leichhardt. It's a fine part of the world. Tezza, good evening. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
Tezza, we just heard a fanciful cock and bull story about the negative implications of AWAs and work choices. You are going to paint a much happier picture, I hope.
Oh, I'll paint a very much happier picture.
Well, tell us your experience of work choices.
My experience is that I work for the government, the State Rail in New South Wales.
Mm-hmm. Work and State Rail don't often go together, but nonetheless.
Oh well, that's for you to judge, not me.
Yeah. People, Spencer, actually travel on trains.
Is that so?
They go to and from work, social engagements, that sort of thing. They actually they travel on them.
And some people don't necessarily want to go to work either. They just want to go from one place to another.
Yes. So what's been your experience then of work choices?
Well, my experience is, why did I vote for the Labor government this year?
You voted for the state Labor government?
Yeah.
Influenced by IR reforms?
Yes, because Mr. Debnam said that he'd say that the...
transfer the powers to the federal government.
Thank you for filling that in for me.
Yes.
The reason is because without those penalty rates and overtime work, I would not be able to pay for my house over this month.
But see, this is my point, Stirling. It was the IR laws that brought Labor into power in New South Wales.
Yes.
Where are our thanks?
Yes.
Where is the gratitude shown by the people of New South Wales?
I know, because I double my wages through penalty rates and working overtime, so that means that I would definitely lose my house. So.
Tezza, I would point out that in the name of greater labour market flexibility, the fact that you would no longer meet your mortgage repayments is a small price to pay if you take a step back and look at the national good.
I'd like to take a point with you there. Then I think I heard Peter Costello say the other day that, how do you put it, why would we do something environmentally sound when it could... zealous policy, I think he called it.
Yes, yes.
When it could cost people their jobs, their houses, and livelihood.
Yes.
I think there's a contradiction there.
Well, yes, I can see where you're going, but I think in times like these where there is the appearance of an ideological quandary, it takes brave men such as yourself, Tezza, to, as somebody said before, take one for the team and say, I no longer want to be under the state award. I'd prefer to be under the federal award.
If I had a choice between losing my house and taking the federal award, I'd definitely take my own house.
If losing the roof over my head is the price to pay for greater labour market flexibility, then so be it. I am a patriot.
Then I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more taxes for environmentally sound policy.
Tezza, if you work for the government, you've no doubt paid so much. You've got several investment properties. I would simply throw the tenants out of one of them and move in. Do that.
Well,
do that.
You know what? I reckon they should give more money to my wife's ex-partner.
Yes. Well,
that's welfare, so I can spend that money that I pay for him.
That surprisingly enough is next week's talkback topic, Tezza. Next week's. Hold on the line for 7 days. Thank you, Tezza from Leichhardt.
Wow. We'll talk tonight.
A man of robust opinions.
Trains.
Just
talk me through them again.
Well, this is it for those of us who support. I won't say local car manufacturers. I will say car manufacturers.
Yes.
We drive to and from work, hither and thither. Those not so cashed up and those who are under the foolish belief that they're doing something for the planet, like to get on trains.
These are the things that keep me from getting to work on time.
Correct.
These are the things... Yes, okay, yes. I see what you're talking about now.
It's a form of transport for drunk people.
Mm-hmm.
Restoring the balance on Triple J. Triple J, restoring the balance, Stirling Addison and Spencer Penrose. We were talking about the IR work choices, an epoch-defining piece of legislation that is.
Yes.
You will tell your kids about what we'd call the ancien regime, the old way of doing things, a cruel and inefficient way of regulating labour.
Mm-hmm.
We finally have a lot more market, or should say labour flexibility in the marketplace now. It is a great thing. And yet those at the bottom will complain about not being paid this and that. Being paid $1 billion to work on a particular day.
As much as we were talking about where were you when you heard the news between Kate and Prince William breaking up, where were you when you heard about the IR?
I was cheering it on in the upper house.
Yes.
I was there in Canberra. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
What a thrilling day.
It certainly was. I caught the whole thing on video.
Really?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. It was... I'll post it on the website.
Okay.
We do have some SMSs, and these are people who refuse to acknowledge what good workplace reform is doing for the economy. This one is from Judy. She says, "At my work, this is an SMS. If you'd like to SMS in a happy tale about work choices, please do. 1975 7555. This one is from Judy. At my work, no overtime paid. Only 3 public holidays paid per year. Employer pays super on only 38 hours a week, no matter how many hours are worked.
Right.
AWA, the Australian Workplace Agreement, wiped out any sick or holiday credits accrued before the AWA came into effect, Judy. You are not looking at the upside. Your employer has never been happier.
That's right. That is all upside.
Yes.
That is a happy story right there.
Yeah, Judy...
what's her problem?
Judy, you can complain about it, or you can suck it up and channel a bit of the spirit of the diggers. Anzac Day is coming up.
That's right.
And maybe try to channel some Anzac digger spirit.
That's all that's needed.
Exactly. We have another one, unaccredited. I don't know who sent this in, but I'll read it nonetheless.
Yeah.
I've just worked 7 days straight with 2 more to go before a break. Worked Easter Sunday and Monday with no extra pay. And my boss threatens everything from leaving rubbish at the counter or having a sick day with being fired. If it happens once more, he says. JH, and we can only assume that's John Howard, can shove his misshapen, bulbous head where the sun don't shine.
Oh, well, it's hardly misshapen.
It's quite a stately head.
Where does the sun not shine? Labor Party meetings?
Yes.
I'm assuming.
The sun won't shine if Labor assume office.
That's right.
A choking darkness will envelop the land.
Ooh.
And there will be no more market or labour market reform.
Because I'm on the Still Knocks at the moment.
Yes.
And that will provide some ammunition for some bad dreams later on tonight. Please don't scare me with those scenarios.
Well, they are tales of woe. Apparently no happy ending. If you'd like to stick up for work choices, please do so. 1300 0555 36. 1975 7555 is the SMS number. Somebody who no doubt has taken one for the team and celebrates labour market reform is John Laws.
Okay.
The man who can look the man on Struggle Street squarely in the eye.
Yes.
He knows a fellow battler when he sees one.
That's right. He knows the people who are benefiting most from IR laws are his listeners.
Yes, to whom he connects with on a level not seen by anyone other than Alan Jones, of course.
His name is Laws.
Yes, he is the Laws,
That's
if you could say. We were telling you before there has been some scuttlebutt, there has been some unfounded allegations that John Laws' ratings are dipping. We, on this Conservative program, want to circle the wagons and remind people of what a giant of a man he is.
Yes.
And we're running an occasional series of pre-recorded announcements or pre-recorded peeks behind the curtain.
These are great.
Of John Laws.
Yes.
We'll play number 3 now.
Restoring the Balance presents, for your edification, a reading from John Law's biography, Laws, A Life of Power. Part 3, Personal Satisfaction.
Laws does not believe in the use of debt in his personal finances. He often says with satisfaction,
I don't owe a cent to anyone.
And he said one can actually feel the difference between having 10 million and 40 million.
That's what success is.
He says,
to have what you need with a little bit left over.
Restoring the balance. Global warming hysteria ends here.
Spencer, we speak with Margaret Somerville.
Oh, looking forward to that.
An expatriate of which we all Australians should be justly proud. She's founding director of Centre of Medicine, Ethics and Law at McGill University. And we will be speaking to her about ethics. That is shortly to come. We are, though, speaking about industrial relations reform. It is a favourite topic of ours.
Yes.
And something that Richard Kingsmill loves talking about over a coffee in the staff room at Triple J.
It's not so much reform as revolution.
Revolution is the language in which he couches what he would like to do to the Triple J lineup of announcers. He does not hold back after half a beer on what he would do to some announcers. And it's always an engaging spectacle when he does let loose, if you will.
I'm sure it is.
Yes. We are speaking about industrial relations reform. We want to know the good side of work choices. Glenn from Mooralbark. Good evening, Glenn.
How are you?
Glenn, what has been your experience?
Oh, realistically, the bosses make employees, so we've got to look after the bosses.
Yes. The collective audience of Triple J booed at the word boss. Boss is bad.
Boss is the man. Boss is management.
No, see, I listen to Triple J for the music, not for the political direction.
Yes,
thank God for that.
Except during 9 and 11, of course, on a Sunday.
Yes.
So what has been your experience of John Howard's work choices?
Oh, I grew up in a private sector sort of family, but now I'm like a worker myself.
Yes.
But, like you're saying, if you look after the bosses, it comes back to the employer anyway.
How do you look after the boss?
Everyone looks in the short term.
Yes, well said. So how do you look after the boss? Give us...
Well, like with your IR reforms, make it easy for the boss. The boss will make more money and he will pass it on.
See, that is the basis of capitalism. Good, honest, sensible capitalism.
Good thinking from Glenn.
What about unfair dismissal? Does that hover over you?
Oh no, I've never had I've never had a sick day.
Yes.
I work.
Now you said you grew up on a dairy farm. A dairy cow can't have a sick day, can she?
No, she does. Does she get sick days?
Well,
she
exactly.
She gets shot if she gets a sick day.
She gets shot.
You can't do that here, can you?
Well, we don't know what the next phase of work choices contains, and
that could be it.
If I had my way, I've said that to my secretary many times.
Unfortunately, you don't, though.
Unfortunately,
I'm down with that, Sterling.
Civil libertarians got there first.
Yeah,
well, Glenn, you are an honest man, an honest toiler, and we salute you for calling up and giving us the more accurate, rose-tinted view of work choices.
Yeah, I've done the hard yards, Sterling.
You have. Well done.
He's a
Thank
true Australian.
You,
true Australian.
He's a battler, and I have no problem speaking with battlers. No problem. Glenn milked my cow. Glenn washed my car. I can speak to battlers.
As long as they keep their distance. As long as they are helping you out, absolutely.
This is Restoring the Balance. Shortly we speak to Margaret Somerville. It is a great pleasure now to talk to the author of The Ethical Imagination. We live in interesting technological and scientific times, Spencer.
Yes.
To help guide us through some of the ethical minefields that we encounter as a result is Margaret Somerville. She has authored The Ethical Imagination. She is the founding director of the Centre for Medicine, Ethics and Law at McGill University, where she holds the Samuel Gale Chair in the Faculty of Law and is a professor in the Faculty of Medicine. She is our second, obviously overqualified guest for the evening, but she joins us now on the phone from Canada. Good evening, Margaret. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Sterling.
You've covered quite a number of what you could say controversial topics in your book, The Ethical Imagination. You've taken a particular stand on gay marriage. Would you talk us through that?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, it's interesting that you picked that up as the first topic because it's not a lot in the book because my publishers were worried about what the reaction would be. But my stand on it is that marriage actually contains two rights. And what it is, the first one is the right to get married.
Yes.
And the second part of that right is the right to found a family.
Yes, I wish my fiancé was listening.
Anyway, that's under international law. That's actually in the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, and it's part of national law. And also it's supported by what's called the International Convention on the Rights of the Child. And you see, when somebody gets rights, those rights to found a family are not just for the adults, those are also rights for the child. And what they set up is that the child's got a right to a mother and a father, know who those parents are.
Yes.
What the International Convention says is, if at all possible, to be brought up in their biological family. Now, the problem with same-sex marriage is that wipes out all those rights of children. If marriage was just about adults' rights, then I think we should have same-sex marriage. But because it's also about children's rights, and because same-sex marriage wipes out a child's right to its own biological family, that's why I'm against it. And the other thing is that you mentioned, I work in new technologies. Well, just in the last few weeks, we've learnt that it's possible to make a sperm from an adult stem cell. Now, that sounds complicated, but what that translates to is that it will be possible, and in fact there's been an article in the Independent newspaper in London just a couple of days ago about a paper presented at a big science conference in Europe, and what that says is we'll be able to make a shared genetic baby between two women. So if you're two lesbian women who are married and you've got a right to marry and a right to found a family, then we know what's going to happen in Canada. That any prohibition on making a child from two women will be challenged as being what we call unconstitutional unconstitutional because we've got our Constitution prohibits discrimination. And the reason that same-sex marriage got legalised in Canada was because the courts held it was discrimination not to let two same-sex people get married. So that's the dilemma that we're in.
Yes.
So what I do is I support civil unions. I think gay people have had a terrible time, and it's been awful, horrible, the discrimination against them. And, of course, we have to stop that. And so, I mean, for instance, I agree with what France has done and what England has done, which is to legalise civil unions. And why that's not a problem is because that's the right of two adults to have a publicly recognised sort of protective relationship for each other. But once you make it marriage, then you automatically bring in children.
Yes.
A problem with it.
Yes. Are you listening again? I'll say Penny. Now, we were talking about scientific breakthroughs. You mentioned stem cells and that sort of thing. Surely technological change has been a constant for hundreds of years. Is the ethical environment more challenging now than it has been at any other point?
Well, one of the shorthand ways I've been describing that, some of your listeners will probably remember Paul Davies, the famous astrophysicist who is now in the US but was in Australia for quite a long time.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, and he tells us that he believes, in fact, I had dinner with him the other night and we were talking about this, and he believes that life on Earth probably came from very, very primitive life forms that were in meteorites that came from Mars and crashed into the Earth 4 billion years ago.
Wow.
I mean, that's incredible. And so we are the result of, I mean, I call that stardust. One of the things I've been talking about is that we humans who are living on this Earth today are this miraculous, wondrous outcome of the combination of stardust and time, this 4 billion years of evolution of those little organisms. Now, the new technology, and this is what's so radically different from the past, and these technologies are sort of 5-10 years at most, means that we can now change that 4 billion years of evolution in absolutely fractions of a second. And no humans ever before us have ever had the power to do anything even remotely approaching that.
Margaret, I'm going to have to wind you up there. We are, unfortunately, out of time. Your book is The Ethical Imagination. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
You talk of 4 billion years, and yet we've only had 5 minutes to talk about this. It is a shame.
I'll be in Australia next month.
We'll look forward to catching up with you in person.
Okay, great. Look forward to it.
This has been Restoring the Balance on Triple J. Thank you, Spencer, for coming in again. We will be back same time, same station next week, restoring the balance on Triple J.
Triple J.